We're going to see the bipartisan, and Lamar Alexander's working on it very hard from our side. And if something can happen, that's fine. But I won't do anything to enrich the insurance companies, because right now the insurance companies are being enriched. They've been enriched by Obamacare like nothing anybody's ever seen before.
The president ought to make up his mind. He keeps changing his mind on issue after issue, and that shows an appalling lack of leadership. Now, he said today it would benefit the insurance companies. He ought to read the bill before he tweets.
All right, joining us now, member of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
I think it's fair to ask at this point if, I mean, how do you really know if the president has actually read what you are proposing? Is that a question? Is that...
The president says he's familiar with it. I can't step inside the president's mind. But his concerns are that insurers will raise their rates for 2018.
Right.
The cost-sharing reduction payments will be made, but the insurers will keep their rates high. They will not reduce them. It's my understanding he wishes to have that further assurance that if these payments are made, insurance companies truly lower their premiums.
But are you seeing in the leader of your party, in the President of the United States, are you seeing a question in your mind whether or not he actually has the aptitude or reads what it is he's talking about as it pertains to these changing bills? Honestly, do you know if he reads it?
Well, of course I don't know if he reads it, because I'm not with him all the time. On the other hand, the concern that he's expressing is one that I have. You don't want it to be a windfall for the insurance company. You want the premiums to come down for the American people. And there's been times when there's been windfalls for various industries for something that was intended to be for the American people. It's a valid concern. If it's addressed, then I'm hoping the president will support it going forward. In fact, it should be addressed, or else I wouldn't support it.
And I think, Willie, the question I was trying to ask is usually with presidents that we've seen in the past, there is an understanding that the president has an aptitude and reads actually what is being discussed.
Knows what's in the bill.
I'm not sure we've got that here.
And has a sense of where the votes are as well.
I'm not sure that President Obama read all 900 legislative pages of the Affordable Care Act. And indeed, to do so, you'd have to refer back to all the other references within the code. The president's given a digest, and that digest is a summary in prose of that which is in legislative language. And I think the president probably read that, and that's probably how most leaders do it.
So, Senator Cassidy, let me ask you about your news that you want to bring back Graham Cassidy in 2018 and take another crack at it. Just to remind people, at the end of last month it was pulled because you just didn't have the votes, even among your Republican colleagues. Just as a legislative matter, Senator, why do you think next time would be different? If you didn't have the votes now, why are you going to have the votes in a few months?
Because at least two people had concerns over process, not over policy.
Who were they?
That's number one. So McCain and Murkowski. And so if we go through regular order, if you will, have committee hearings and such, the House does the same, then we think that actually addresses their concerns regarding policy. Secondly, there are some states represented by Democrats that do far better under Graham Cassidy. For example, Virginia would end up with $4 to $5 billion more under Graham Cassidy than under status quo. Missouri, $3 to $4 billion off the top of my head. Maine, $1 billion more than under the status quo. Money to provide coverage for working families. I'm hoping those Democratic senators from those states would support the bill.
But Senator, they weren't convinced of that the last time around. They did have some chance to see the broad outline. Susan Collins knew basically what was in the bill and decided it wasn't something she could vote for. So I guess my question is, why would they change their vote now? Is there something you're going to change about Graham Cassidy, or are you just going to put it up again the way it was?
There will be some modification going forward because obviously it's a different legislative year. On the other hand, Senator Collins was concerned about another part of Graham Cassidy, the per capita cap. She wanted to have a fuller understanding of that, hearings on that, and to make sure that Mainers did okay under that. We'll have the next several months to explore that and ideally prove that no, Maine does pretty well under the per capita cap. So again, our compressed time frame last time didn't allow us to push back those who are misrepresenting, didn't allow us to tell those like the people from Virginia and Missouri how much better their states did under this proposal. Having more months to do so will allow us to address that.
Well, certainly moved to regular order, this Joe Scarborough, Senator. Obviously is a step in the right direction. I want to go back, though, to something that Meek was talking to you about, and that was the president being ignorant of the legislation that's before him. You suggested that maybe he read bills the same, or at least read the digest of the bills like Barack Obama. There's no evidence of that. And I wanted to ask you
But
about
there's no
Rich
evidence against
Lowry.
it. But you're
we're
trying to ask me to prove a negative.
No, hold on. There is so much evidence that this president doesn't know what's in the bills. It's been a complaint time and time again from legislators on the Hill that he doesn't know what's in the bills. All he wants is a bill that he can sign. Rich Lowry this morning from the National Review writes in Politico, the Trump administration has formidable obstacles, but none looms quite as large as the fact that Trump himself has no idea how he wants to govern. You are not really suggesting that this president is read in on legislation and on health care legislation as much as past presidents, are you? Because that's objectively just not true.
You know, I will tell you that there are Democrats who were lobbied by President Obama on provisions of the ACA that said, Mr. President, you're wrong on this. He would say, I'll call you back, and they never got a call back. So when you have complex legislation, can there be misunderstanding by those involved? Yes, there can be. But Joe, neither you nor I nor Rich Lowry can step inside the president's mind, nor can we understand the relationship he has vis-a-vis his advisors. Dwight Eisenhower, as an example, FDR delegated. They would say, go out and do this, be brought back a proposal and sign off or sign on. They didn't know, for example, that we went to paper currency under FDR. FDR didn't negotiate that deal. His advisor did. So we have to at some point recognize that different presidents have different governing skills. By the way, I'm reading a biography of FDR, which is why it comes to mind.
Well, but you're certainly in that biography of FDR. You're not comparing FDR's grasp on legislation or Eisenhower's grasp of events with that of Donald Trump, are you?
FDR, as best as I can tell, had no kind of involvement at all at our conversion to a paper currency. You know, we're going away from the gold standard. We're now going to do the full faith and credit of the Federal Reserve behind a paper bill. As best I can tell, that was brought to him fait accompli, and he signed off. Now, that's a pretty significant change in our economic history, which, as best as I understand, was not anything he was intimately involved with. It was some fellow playing the guitar at home, and the thought occurred to him. So, and I don't mean to minimize it, that's just the way the guy unwound. So I think different presidents have different ways of governing. We just have to respect that.
So I'm sorry.
So
hold on a second. Senator, is it fair to say the president has not told the truth at times on any level, on anything? I'm not trying to get into his head. You've gone on this show a lot. I'm trying to get into yours and understand exactly where you're coming from. Has this president ever lied?
This president speaks in hyperbole, and hyperbole is interpreted by some as lies, and by the president it's interpreted as just his exaggeration. The most beautiful in the world. Well, what's the most beautiful in the world? That's in the eye of the beholder. So the president has a manner of speaking which is easily taken as a lie, and the president would refute that. I frankly don't focus on that, Micah. I kind of look at the issue before us, what is the core, and if I get distracted by, well, is the hyperbole a lie or is it not a lie?
How about I've called them all?
We got it. Senator Bill Cassidy, I understand completely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mika, the comparison to Donald Trump's knowledge of whatever bill comes before him, he literally would sign. You could smear spaghetti sauce and have 3-year-olds do pictures and crayons and put it before him and with their feet. And if you told him it was a health care bill, he would say, this is the most sweeping, comprehensive health care bill of all time. I will sign it now. And they'll have a beer party or something like that. The keg party, just joking there. But it's unbelievable that you had a comparison of Donald Trump to FDR, Donald Trump to Dwight Eisenhower, and then a suggestion that Donald Trump just deals in hyperbole and we're just to look the other way.
That was a profile in courage. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.